Call me.
Emily.
Don't ever tell me you love me.
Sorry, but
We're doing this on my terms. If you don't call me, I call you. If you tell anyone, this is over. Do you understand?
I'll do anything. Anything you want.
Never left is looking back at me, 'cause everything seems wrong.
Hi, Emily. I know you're busy, but I hope to see you. Even for a short while, also okay. Call me when you get the message, okay? Anytime. Anytime, okay? Be online. Bye. Oh yeah, this is hot.
Wow, strike body so happy for what?
Better than that.
Must be you and 大小姐 okay already, is it?
Who say?
Never mind, don't tell me. Anyway, I'm also in a good mood. Mr. Chan is okay with the code, so we can go over and confirm everything by today.
Tell him we'll be there after lunch.
Come, let's go for lunch. Wow, so energetic.
This program is available on demand for free on MeWatch. Brought to you by Mitsubishi Electric StarMex Air Conditioner.
Ever wondered what would have happened if Melanie had chosen to run off with James?
If it were up to you, how would this love quadrangle between Yoke, Ella, Shen, and Matthew play out?
Now is your chance to prove how big of a Kin fan you are.
And come up with your own Kin storyline.
Take part in the Kin Wattpad fanfic story writing contest
To see your ideas come to life in a special Kin spin-off series. Stand a chance to win exclusive Kin limited edition merchandise. Go to Wattpad for more details.
If Melanie and James got together, they would salsa dance every night. Like a this.
Like a deal.
Tonight on 5. Hello there, good evening. I'm Otelli Edwards, and here are your top stories on News 5. Nearly 50 people caught not wearing masks, 150 others fined for breaking safe distancing rules as Singapore caps day 10 of the circuit breaker. More GP clinics will soon be able to do coronavirus swab tests. Malaysia makes a U-turn. Even e-bazaars will now be banned during Ramadan.
And also tonight, Talking Point. I'm Stephen Chia, and this week we're going to find out what's happening with our foreign workers amid a surge in COVID-19 cases within their dormitories.
Nearly 50 people have been caught not wearing face masks in public on the first day of enforcement. The latest figures have been released by Environment and Water Resources Minister Masagos Zulkifli. Now, the wearing of masks was made mandatory 2 days ago. From today, first-time offenders will be fined $300 and repeat offenders $1,000. When CNA visited areas like Clementi and Bukit Panjang, enforcement officers could be seen conducting checks. While our cameras didn't spot anyone being fined, but those who weren't wearing masks correctly were told to put them on properly. Well, fines will be issued to 150 people who breached safe distancing measures. The National Environment Agency has also released peak hour timings for wet markets, which authorities have labelled as hotspots for crowds. The situation now appears to be more manageable.
It's only 7 a.m. at this wet market at Clementi, and already a queue has formed to enter. Safe distancing rules mean that only a limited number of people are allowed to be inside at any one time, but the line moved fast. Other measures include markings on the floor and even regular public announcements in different languages. market goers and stall holders have had to get used to such measures to thin crowds, and it appears to have done the trick.
Stallholder, they are complaining that why inside there's no less customer and outside there's a long queue. We need to explain to them there's a limit capacity of 120 only at one time. During this circuit breaker time, we have been working very closely with the town councils, and we have deployment to control and organize the crowd. Every half an hour, our officers going site to monitor the crowds.
At nearby West Coast Market, the crowd was mostly gone by 8:30 a.m. While some stalls still had lines, they were thinner compared with the busiest period, which stallholders say is between 7 and 8 a.m. The crowd here is in stark contrast to bigger markets like Geylang Serai, which extended operating hours to 5 p.m. this past weekend in hopes that shoppers would space their visits apart.
从来不会的，从年轻到老我都是很少，我不喜欢下午出门。
If they extend the operating hours, will you come in the afternoon?
No. I can buy in Sheng also. It's a freshness and DUC also have.
他们来是全部是早上就来了，因为他们知道啊，巴萨的事物啊什么都是很新鲜。过了11、2点，那个人潮已经开始越来越少了啊，所以你延迟也是浪费时间啊，而且他们是这些摊贩他们很早就起身，所以他们就好像到这个时候收了就早点回家休息了。
The Jurong West Hawker Association, which operates this so-called hotspot wet market, says the same. There were still sneaking queues at 10:30 a.m., slightly past the peak hour window, although the association says it usually subsides by noon. NEA says it leaves the decision of opening hours to the stallholders, but encourages them to extend it into the early afternoon. They will also continue to monitor the crowds at hotspot markets.
Now, experts say that while people are exercising outdoors, the risk of COVID-19 infection is very low. Sports Singapore has issued guidelines saying people don't need to wear masks when running, cycling or brisk walking.
Haris Ismail used to work out at gyms almost every day, but these had to be shut for a month in line with the circuit breaker measures. The 29-year-old decided to head outdoors. He tried running wearing a mask, but soon gave up.
The consumption of oxygen is very minimal, so it was quite a challenge, but I did not actually run the whole time with the mask. After maybe about 10-15 minutes, I went to take it off because it's really getting hard to breathe.
With the guidelines issued, people doing strenuous exercises like running or cycling don't have to wear masks. However, they'll need to put it on after working out. Masks, though, are still needed for those walking or strolling. One doctor agrees with the guidelines and adds that the risk of getting the COVID-19 infection while exercising outdoors is very low.
In an outdoor exposed environment, the risk is actually very low in the first place. Why? It's because when you have the respiratory droplets in an outdoor environment, as compared to a confined space, the virus particle is actually distributed in a more wider area. The chance of you getting the virus is actually very low, unless someone directly coughs or sneezes right in your face.
And wearing a mask when exercising might be risky for some, according to another doctor.
When you wear a mask, it becomes quite difficult to breathe, and it may actually be dangerous for some people because they may be pushing themselves too much and without realizing it, not breathing enough.
And as for those who insist on wearing one while exercising, they should take it easy.
Some of the warning signs may be that people start to feel more breathless, more fatigued than usual. Other things may be also you are starting to feel giddy. That's also a possible sign. Hopefully we don't have people having chest pains or feeling very, very uncomfortable or wanting to vomit or feeling nauseous at the same time. But these are all possible signs that they are maybe pushing themselves a bit too hard.
The doctors advise those exercising outdoors to do so alone and in empty places. During this circuit breaker period, people can only exercise with those from the same household.
And for a closer look at safe distancing and enforcement efforts, I'm joined now by Environment and Water Resources Minister Masagos Zulkifli. Well, a warm welcome, sir. So we are day 10 into the circuit breaker, and today nearly 50 people caught not wearing masks, 150 others fined for breaking these safe distancing rules. And I want to know, what do you make of these numbers?
Well, in total, you can see it's about 200. That means for the last few days, we have been finding 200 people on a daily basis, except that this time, the people who violated safety distancing measures number about 150 or more, slightly more than that. And then the number who violated mask wearing is 50. Well, for mask wearing, I think it's a good start. The numbers are very manageable, 50, and looking around, photographs that enforcement officers have been sending me, I'm quite pleased. But I think, of course, we can do better.
Right. And Minister, we know that there are exceptions, like we heard earlier from the doctors, for example, someone is engaging in strenuous exercise, they don't need to wear the mask. But I'm wondering to what extent will the authorities go to find out whether or not someone is actually telling the truth?
Look, I think the most important thing to remember is to stay home. Stay home as much as possible so that we all protect ourselves and protect each other. Go out for the essentials like exercising, and if you know that you're going to find hard breathing while you are exercising hard, then don't put on the mask. But please, the moment you finish exercising, put it on. I don't think we will have a hard and fast rule looking at people running around whether they should or should not put a mask on. But clearly, when they are done, we will require them to do so.
Also, can you just share with us some examples of cases where rules were flouted but might not be so apparent? In other words, some of the common misperceptions that maybe you'd like to highlight.
Well, the rule says that for those who are below 2 years old, you don't have to wear a mask. For those who are exercising strenuously, particularly running in the open, you don't have to put on a mask. Beyond that, clearly everyone should put it on. There will be exceptions, and if they are, for example, for special needs, and it's very difficult to do so, I think we can be understanding, certainly.
And also, I understand that we've got a few thousand of these officers, enforcement officers on the ground. What kind of changes must we see before you think there will be a relaxation in terms of the enforcement operations?
Firstly, like I mentioned, if everybody stay home as much as possible, and if they, even when they go out, space it out, I think we'll need less people on the ground. It's important for us to remind ourselves that the safe distancing measures are meant to protect ourselves and those around us. Remember, I like to remind everybody that the latest case that was highlighted about 2 days ago, a 70-year-old male who passed away, he caught this virus because he was in a big setting among his family members at a private dinner in Safra. And that the onset of that infection came about on the 5th of March, and he passed on the 14th of April. So it is in the interest of everybody to ensure that we keep this safety distancing strictly, so that we do not pass our virus that we may have to one another. And more importantly, when you're out there in public, put on your mask, because you do not know whether you are asymptomatic and passing on this virus to others.
Right, very many thanks, Minister. And there we were just speaking with Environment and Water Resources Minister Masagos Zulkifli. Well, time now for a short break, but still ahead on News 5. PM Lee pays an e-visit to the team that looks after migrant workers during the pandemic. Plus, good news for F&B outlets. Cheaper alternatives for food deliveries are on the way.
My Mitsubishi Electric StarMix aircon saves me energy and money. It's easy to clean and is so quiet.
I'll raise it to the skies. My passion forges me a future and beyond. In a team where I belong, to be strong. We're the ones who watch over you, the ones who watch over us. For our home above all. together to the peak. We'll be the ones limitless in what we seek. We'll be the ones to touch the future unbound, traveling at the speed of sound. We're the ones to watch over you, the ones to watch over us, the ones to watch over you, the ones to watch over us. For our home
Heat and humidity making your scalp oily? Look! New Dove Pink Detox. Micellar technology deeply cleanses your scalp. Himalayan pink salt nourishes dry hair. Detox and nourish for a refreshed scalp all day. New Dove Pink Detox.
Are these all the luggages you have?
Luggage, not luggages. Don't need S.
3 luggages can count, right?
No. You have 3 pieces of luggage. No S.
1, 2, 3 luggages.
Let's connect. Let's speak good English.
To be your brilliant self, go black. Systema Sonic Brilliant Black Toothbrush helps provide up to 7 times better cleaning ability. It has sonic wave vibration, super tapered soft and slim bristles, and a thinner brush head. Go brilliant, go black.
Systema. Welcome back to News 5. More GP clinics are getting ready to do swab tests for suspected COVID-19 patients. One medical group says it's expecting about 200 of its clinics to come on board progressively. That's on top of the 140 clinics the Health Ministry announced last Saturday. CNA also understands foreign workers not in the domestic sector will also be given a treatment subsidy at public health preparedness clinics from today that will also cover such swabs.
This GP clinic is gearing up to do swab tests on suspected COVID-19 patients. Previously, GPs had to refer them to a government hospital.
The hospitals would then actually perform the swab test as accordingly, and then will not be sent home from there, and then monitor over the next 24 hours to 48 hours, and then that's when you get results. The difference right now is that instead of going to a government hospital and flooding the A&E, right, the primary care space is taking over this. We are able to actually identify patients who require the swab and then perform the swab on the spot. If a patient has only to go to a GP and then back home, the amount of time this patient spends in the community is much reduced.
Doctors must put on additional protective gear and must meet strict criteria before they do the swab.
We are not allowed to actually execute these swabs for patients who do not fit the relevant clinical criteria. The first criteria will be patients who are clinically detected to have pneumonia or possible clinical evidence of chest infection. Number 2 will be patients with a prolonged cough, cold, rhino symptoms as well as fever of 4 days and beyond. And lastly will be any patients with any cough, cold, rhino symptoms and has been overseas for the past 14 days.
So far, the clinic has done over 5 swabs and is one of those under the MHC Asia Medical Group, taking part in the Swab and Send Home initiative. And MHC says bringing in the private sector will help fight the virus better.
It is actually important for panel clinics or individual private GPs to onboard this program to actually help alleviate the burden that the national healthcare is actually experiencing. So this will actually help get the number of people tested quicker, and it's actually more convenient to the patients as well.
So far, MHC says about half of its 400 PHPC clinics have expressed interest to take part. Meanwhile, Healthway Medical Group, which operates about 40 clinics, says it's also rolled out swab tests at some outlets. Meantime, CNA understands that foreign workers with respiratory symptoms, except those in the domestic sector, will now get a treatment subsidy that will also cover such swab tests at clinics. The move is set to encourage work permit holders to seek timely medical treatment.
Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong says he's encouraged to learn that foreign workers recognize Singapore's collective efforts to look after and treat them during the COVID-19 outbreak. Mr. Lee has paid an e-visit to the Interagency Task Force team at the Ministry of Manpower Services Centre. And Mr. Lee says while not all public officers deployed to the dormitories speak their native languages, they are working closely with ambassadors from the Migrant Workers Centre who are migrant workers themselves. Mr. Lee also expressed his gratitude for the efforts and service of the safe distancing ambassadors, many of whom are volunteers who care and want to do something. He says they've been hard at work in a community. He's also thanked public officers who quietly carry out essential tasks under great pressure, as well as individuals and community groups who are doing their part, raising funds for foreign workers and rendering help to the homeless. Food and beverage companies now have helped to set up their own online ordering systems, which works out to lower commissions for deliveries. They can even tap subsidies from the government to help with upfront costs. It comes as questions are raised about whether the commissions paid to existing delivery platforms are fair.
K-pop themed Nayana Cafe has seen its footfall drop by half in the last month amid the COVID-19 pandemic. But its food delivery volumes have remained high. That's why it's expanding its takeout business with delivery platform partners.
I think they help us to reach out to the masses in a very short time. Instead of us coming out with marketing budget upfront and not being sure if it actually reaches out to the masses, that will be their plus point. However, the cost involved in every delivery is actually quite high, and after giving them the commission, what is left in our profit is really very thin.
About 30% of the total price of each order goes to these delivery platforms. DBS is helping F&B firms DIY at about a third of that rate. The local bank is working with 2 tech startups to help businesses develop their own online ordering and payment systems and market their food digitally. The bank says lowering costs for these businesses means they can stay the course in a fast-growing food delivery landscape. 100 of its F&B clients are already on board.
Customer behavior is going to change. I believe that, dining out in the comfort of home is something that is here to stay, is sustainable. People still need to eat. People love eating, and people love to eat out as much as possible. But we want to be safe and be healthy.
DBS charges what it calls a preferential rate for its clients to access this suite of services. On top of that, they qualify for the government's Productivity Solutions Grant, which subsidizes up to 80% of the cost of pre-approved solutions. The most popular ones relate to telecommuting, online business, and safe distancing. Interested firms can get more information from the Infocom Media Development Authority's Stay Healthy, Go Digital campaign.
We've got all these solutions on the Digital Solutions Directory under the Stay Healthy, Go Digital campaign. And quite a number of these solutions are free or actually a limited time offer. And quite a number of these solutions are also supported under the Productivity Solutions Grant.
For companies that want to take things a step further and sell overseas without leaving Singapore, IMDA will launch what's called the Grow Digital initiative later this year. It'll help them list their products on e-commerce platforms accessible in multiple markets.
Healthcare workers might soon be able to conduct swab tests safely and twice as fast. Singapore General Hospital and local biomedical incubator, the Biofactory, have developed a prototype in just 2 weeks.
Aptly called SG Safe for short, the Swab Assurance for Everyone system is made from industrial grade and chemical resistant materials. So a doctor conducting swab tests only needs to don the N95 masks during the procedure. A pair of biosafety gloves fitted into the panel of the U-shaped transparent booth allow him to take swabs from patients on the other side.
SG Safe allows for an efficient swabbing, especially when you're talking about a large volume or high volume swabs. It reduces the PPE or the protective gown requirement because you don't have to change between patients.
Not only is the system being used at SGH, 7 of them have been deployed to foreign worker dormitories.
In terms of the deployments at the dormitories, it's really to increase the efficiency as well as the comfort of our healthcare workers while doing this high volume swabs.
The Biofactory committed all its resources into this as soon as SGH told them about the brainwave. The company says it has made the system both safe and user-friendly.
SG Safe can be folded to fit into any lift and corridor and requires only 2 people to move and set up within 10 minutes. And we are pleased to report that there's been positive feedback from the front line.
And where SG Safe is not available or cannot be deployed due to space constraints, there is SG Shield that protects healthcare workers from droplets should patients cough during throat swabs.
We'll be completely equipped and prepared in our full PPE, but the contamination from the gross droplet splash is actually quite concerning. And besides, we also want to prevent cross-contamination to the next person that we swab, and we want to preserve our PPE as much as we can. So that's why the shield idea came about.
The shield blocks close to 95% of droplets that might come into contact with the healthcare staff directly. Work has started on a second prototype too.
So our aim is able to use one shield in order to do an oropharyngeal swab and the nasopharyngeal swab, and also be able to flip between the two should we find that an oropharyngeal swab is unable to be done.
Dr. Siti hopes that the prototype of the new shield will be ready next week.
A 32-year-old Singaporean man will be charged in court tomorrow for breaching his stay-home notice. Fu Chingguan was issued the notice after arriving from Thailand on 17th of March. He was supposed to stay home at all times for 2 weeks, but 2 days before the end of the period, he left his home in Kreta Ayer and took a private hire car to Sengkang Central to settle some personal matters with a friend. If convicted, he could be fined up to $10,000 and jailed for 6 months. Up next on News 5, experts zero in on StarHub's problem after its internet network went down twice yesterday. And Japan expands its state of emergency to cover the entire country.
Weather report brought to you by Mitsubishi Electric.
Shokubutsu presents Hadakara, a moisture-binding body wash first developed in Japan. Moisturizing ingredients remain on your skin even after rinsing, leaving it soft and smooth. Hadakara, the unique beauty of moisture-binding softness.
Do you solemnly swear that all your pizzas are made with freshly kneaded dough and 100% mozzarella cheese, and you give 50% off all flavors?
I do.
Pizza Hut, your slice of simple.
Helpers are not foolproof. Helpers are not burn-proof. Helpers are not burn-proof.
Because helpers are not machines. Switch to FWD Made Insurance, the only insurer to cover cashless outpatient medical expenses. FWD Insurance.
Welcome back. Malaysia has banned all forms of Ramadan bazaars for this fasting month to try to limit the spread of the coronavirus. Authorities had initially given the green light for e-bazaars, where people could order online and collect food later, but that option has now been banned as well. That means there will be no drive-through or pack and pick-up service. Instead, only food delivery services are allowed during the country's nationwide lockdown. The movement control order will be in place until 28th of April. The government has also warned people against travelling to other states to visit family members. The Muslim fasting month of Ramadan begins in a week, and it's a tradition for many to return home and break fast with their families on the first day.
Pergerakan merentasi negeri ini juga tidak dibenarkan sejak daripada PKP 1 dan PKP 2. Dan bulan Ramadan sekalipun ia masih lagi tertakluk kepada undang-undang yang saya sebutkan tadi. Jadi pergerakan beramai-ramai untuk pulang ke kampung juga tidak dibenarkan. Tidak boleh.
Japan has declared a nationwide emergency as COVID-19 infections exceed 9,000. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe put in place a month-long state of emergency last week, but that only covered Tokyo and 6 other prefectures. Several other regions have called to be included so that they can introduce tougher measures to get the outbreak under control. The declaration allows regional governors to urge people to stay indoors or request businesses to close, but the measure has no legal force. The nationwide emergency will remain in force until 6th of May, affecting the country of 126 million people. Well, back home, StarHub has apologized to its customers after 2 unrelated incidents of internet disruption yesterday. The 2 outages lasted a combined 5 hours. In a statement, StarHub said network resilience and quality are matters it takes seriously, especially with more people working and studying from home. It's offering affected customers a one-time 20% rebate on home broadband subscription. The telco added that the outages were not caused by out-of-date equipment, capacity shortage, or a cyber attack. StarHub assured customers of its robust network infrastructure, although an expert says more could have been done.
A robust network is one that does not fail easily, okay, and is able to maintain functionality even when there is a network malfunction, error, and attacks. They need to have more backup plans or scripts, and then they need to review the software configuration scripts and files regularly, because the problem with network system is sometimes you do certain upgrade or you do certain updates, you may forget to check.
Now we're into the second week of the circuit breaker. Do remember to stay home and stay safe. And don't forget, the latest on the coronavirus is always available on radio and online. CNA 938 has the latest news and current affairs 24/7 on radio and can also be streamed on cna.asia. Well, coming up next, we've got Talking Point, and tonight's topic is all about the spread of the coronavirus in foreign worker dormitories.
Tens of thousands of foreign workers in Singapore are under lockdown amid a rising tide of COVID-19 cases in their dormitories. But with their cramped quarters, experts have described it as a perfect storm for infection. So what's being done to quell the spread of the coronavirus within these dormitories? And can we find a better way forward to house our foreign workers? Join Diana Sir in this special Talking Point Forum.
Singapore